Yeah, there we go. So you can see in her hand she has a cup of white powder, and she's in the process of putting this design on the ground. So let's see if that works. No. So this is the same village where that woman was, and she is putting lots of them because it's a festival. And so, keep going. So I have to ask you to, okay. So here you can see the whole street in this same village. All the women are putting them in front of their houses, and they've even drawn borders between who gets to put them. So they've divided up the street into areas where they each get to put them. Next slide. And next one. And next one. Now this woman is in the city where I was living, Chennai, and she is putting it just right in front of her house. And you can see from the wet earth that she's washed the area before she does it. Okay, next. And this is that same neighborhood in Chennai. You can see, again, the streets full of these designs because it is a festival. But people are parking their motorcycles and bicycles on top. So keep going. And here's a dog. So you have to have, India's full of dogs. So, and I have a Desi dog, so that picture was necessary. These women are doing contests. So in the village, it's kind of an informal contest. You saw, they filled the entire street and they're all looking at each other's kolams. In the city, a newspaper, this is something that was sponsored by a newspaper. Hundreds of women came, put kolams, and there were prizes, and they got their pictures in the paper if they had the nicest kolam. So it's a very important part of Tamil culture. Now you notice that all of the designs I showed you so far were just made with white powder, but there's a North Indian tradition called Rangoli, which uses colored powder, and that is starting to become more and more popular. Over the last 20 years, that's become much more popular in South India, so you're starting to see mixture. Keep going. And this is a different kind of kolam done by Brahmins. You see it's very different in the way it's put together. Keep going. And here's a more freestyle one, which is becoming more popular. This is one made out of wet rice powder, which is, again, something that Brahmins do, which is, I'm not going to go into the caste system. You can explain that later. And this is, I just wanted a close-up of how the powder looks on the ground, because it's such a beautiful look. If you see them in person, they're much more beautiful than in these photographs, but this at least gives you a sense. Now the ones that we're going to talk about are a special kind where you lay down dots, and then you put curves around dots. And they get very complex, but we're going to look at some simpler ones, so you want to start handing those out. So here are some examples of that. And you see they can be quite big and quite complicated. But a lot of the younger people like to just make flowers out of the powder. Go on to the next one. So again, there's not that complicated, twisty thing going on. Okay, I'm a mathematician, so what got me interested, I'm a mathematician who does art in my spare time whenever I have time. So Tanya is a natural artist who's a professional. I'm an amateur, but it's important to me, and it's a big part of what I do. So when I saw kolams, I thought, wow, here's something that combines some design with some very interesting mathematics. So we're just going to barely scratch the surface here. We have so little time. But I just wanted to give you guys just a tiny sense of how a mathematician might come across something like this and start thinking about it mathematically. So what I'd like you all to do is write down maybe 2 or 3 observations that you have about this. Just take a couple of minutes, look at this design.
Are you writing down on this?
Yes.
What do you think it relates to math?
But I don't want you I don't want you thinking about what relates to math. I want you to look at it and just tell me what you see. Don't try to relate it to math yet, because it's complicated. That's another step. So just now, I just want you to look at it and say what you see, but I want you to write it down first. I want everyone to have at least 1 or 2 things on their paper before I collect any ideas. Okay?
So this idea of observation.
All of the lines connect to one loop, like it never, does it connect?
So you're saying the lines are all part of one long curve?
Yes.
Okay, so this is really important, you guys. Watch. Because I'm going to want you to do this on your papers in a minute. So she saw something really important, but that you only, see if you actually try to draw them. It's hard to see it. You came across this observation by trying to draw it, right? Or did you
I just
with your finger? Did you trace it?
I just looked at the picture. I made one point and then I just like traced it.
Yeah, she kind of traced it with her finger, now with the pencil. But look what happens. If I'm trucking along happily, oops, I get to here, and what do I have to do?
You have to curve.
I have to curve around. And then I'm happy, da 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 da, no problems, I can be on autopilot. And then what happens?
Curve around.
I have to curve around. So then I'm like, oh, I get to here. What do you think I need to do?
Go around.
I need to go around that loop. You're right. And now, do I want to head back where I was? No, I want to keep going. How far? To here?
Yeah. No. Go around.
Oh, I want to keep going straight. Okay. Up. What do I do now? Can I go like that?
No.
No, that was the wrong thing to do. Okay. All right. So let me turn back. Do I suddenly go whoosh?
No.
No, that would be bad. Okay. So let's fix that line. So what do I want to do? Keep going. See, and if you keep doing that, if you just keep going, look what happens. I don't expect you to do it that fast. I want to do one of them together because, again, because of the time limit, I want you all to be able to do it. So look at this. If I start going like this, where do I go next? I curve now, and what do I do now? I turned, and now what do I do? I go all the way down, and now what do I do? Now I curve, and see how I closed up on myself? So I put down the blue and I pick up the green, okay? And now, where else do you want to go? Where do you want to start now?
And then you curve down that way.
So where am I going? Where do you want me to start? Come on.
So you went like this.
Now she wants to do this guy, and I curve and I go straight, and now what do I need to do? Curve. I go all the way around, and I go straight. Turn, curve, straight. And now I've come back on myself, so I put the green down. And now I pick up the red, and what do I do now? You want to do it quickly? Do it for me. Yeah, then I do there. And see, look what that helps. The three colors tell me that I needed 3 curves. I just can look at the paper and see. 3 colors, 3 curves. So that's why we're giving you colored pencils. So now if you guys could help. So see, you can draw in one color, so it's not clear that it's 3. No, I know, but I'm just saying, can you redo it? You can do it right on top. How far can you go without turning? Can't you like that with the stars? There you go. Now you got it. Did you hear my name? Yeah, because of all the other things, a little messed up. It's helpful if you had a new shoe, but did you or could you keep going?
Okay.
Well, look, see how there's a little bit of line there? Good, and this. And then how far? Yeah, now you can go down. Just use one color. Before you had to. Look. Why did you say like Actually, this one makes sense.
What's the matter, Hannah? You're thinking?
Yeah, that's
What? Magic.
This one changed.
Why don't you try doing? What do you have done so far?
I got 2.
Why?
It's camera. It's camera.
Just pretend like it's not there.
I love about bringing Kolams and math to kids is that it gets at so many different things all at once. It's something about culture that they've never seen before, so it shows them different practices from different cultures. It shows them a women's activity that's very abstract, which, you know, we tend to dichotomize a lot, you know, that sort of West is rational, East is not rational, women are irrational, men are rational. I know these things, people don't say these directly, but those are some ideas that people have, and here's a very abstract activity that women is almost exclusively female. And I love it too because it allows me to talk about math in a way that it's unfamiliar to people, that math is really about making sense of the world and about making observations and about noticing things and about figuring out how to talk about things in addition to just doing calculations. So it kind of brings all of that together in a way that you can do it, and what we did today is also accessible to kids. So that it's like a, you know, it's just got all of it together. So that's my idea, but maybe
So-
Tanya has something.
Well, what I've enjoyed about this today, watching the students, is that it is also something they're doing with their hands.
Oh,
And they
I didn't
have
even
to
say
pay-
that, of course.
They have to pay attention, they have to learn how to move the hand, they have to learn the gesture to do it. And, I mean, I know with my son, a lot of that is being lost with all this digital age. So it's really important to me to bring that to the kids, that they're actually doing something with their hands. And like we talked about with the observation, that they have to observe what they're doing and how that's a similarity for art and math, that you observe those.
Yeah, and absolutely, I should have said that. To me, that's just so much a part of it, that I use making all the time in math with my college and MA and master's students. And I notice that even my college students don't work with their hands, haven't worked with their hands. They're
Yeah.
unable to work with their hands. So thinking, wow, are kids not being able to draw in school anymore? That would be a tragedy. So
So the
You're
columns
right.
at the same time, simultaneously, are this physical activity you're doing with your hands, very concrete, but this abstract level of thinking.
yes. So you have the making, you have the craft, you have the aesthetic, and you have the intellectual, all kind of bound together into one activity. That's also for women.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, that's exciting.
In the first class that we did, I did find it fascinating that the kids kept wanting to find images in this abstract pattern.
I love that too, though.
Yeah.
And I like to let that conversation go for longer, because I think another thing that we do with math is we put boundaries around it too soon. We say adding is a mathematical activity, but noticing patterns. Well, now patterns are part of the curriculum, but for a long time, noticing
Right.
patterns was not part of the curriculum.
Right.
So it's like, I don't like to say only notice mathematical things, because you want them to notice as much as they can notice. And then you can ask the question, what of these things are mathematical things and what of these things are not? But let that be a later conversation. Don't inhibit people from noticing what they really notice. You want to develop their own ability to see the world around them without filters before you start categorizing things. So to me, that's really important too. So
I'm just thinking of what the teacher said, that this is an activity that she wasn't aware of, just as far as introducing. And what a great thing to introduce this cultural aspect, but sort of in this guise of art and math. And so now it's just like we slipped it in, that this is an activity that happens in South India.
right.
Now they're going to see the images and have that reference point.
Yep. So all of those.